Philadelphia, where every street echoes with the weight of history and culture thrives on every corner. Here, champions are born from grit, and toughness is carved into its very foundation. From fighting for independence to battling for championships, Philly always stands its ground. Uncompromising, unyielding, and unapologetic. Now it leads to this, the NCAA Wrestling Championships, in the heart of the city, where history is made every day.
It's been called the Gauntlet of College Championships. 3 days of blood, sweat, and tears for the opportunity to be called an All-American. Today in Philadelphia, lifelong journeys become a reality. For some, it's one final chance to step on the mat and leave your lasting legacy in a sport that demands so much. While for others, it's a springboard into the future and a step toward the ultimate goal of a national championship. Raw emotions will come out today inside the Wells Fargo Center and the 2025 medal round of the NCAA Wrestling Championships. 4 teams have separated from the pack. Penn State close to sealing their 12th title in 14 years. Nebraska enjoying a record-setting performance, while Blue Bloods, Oklahoma State, and Iowa flexed their muscles last night in the semis. Both the Hawkeyes and Cowboys sending 3 into the finals tonight. And a pleasant good afternoon. Sean Kinney alongside Tim Johnson, Rock Harrison, Quint Kesnick is Matt Side. TJ, we've covered this round a few years now. Over the next few hours, you will see some liquid salt around the eyes of a lot of grown men.
Yes, today is a perfect picture of why America needs wrestling. These wrestlers, these athletes have had their dreams of a national championship crushed in the last 2 days. And they've had to regroup, find the strength to fight for a consolation prize. That's why I believe so heartily that America needs wrestling. The guts, the gumption, the grit that it takes to grind out those 7-minute matches, same stuff that it takes to face life's challenges. You don't have to dig in, but you get to dig in, and when that consolation prize is finally won, it's more than a medal. It's proof that grit pays off, and that whatever crushing losses you face in life, there's always something more to fight for.
And it's about the individual piece. You're watching at home. You don't know what these guys have gone through. They're making weight where they don't want to. They're going through some injuries you don't know about. It's all about mental toughness, not just for this round, but mental toughness for the future.
There was a lot of movement yesterday, not just individually, but on the team front. And in Rock, 2 teams really stepped up.
We all expected Penn State to do what they do. 10 All-Americans. Let's put that in perspective. That's like Auburn having All-Americans on their starting 5. But the real story is about Nebraska. 3 finalists wrestling out of their mind in a solid 2nd place. Hashtag GBR.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Medal round coming up here on ESPNU. Don't forget MacCast available as well. Shane Sparks, Trent Hidley providing every single minute of every single match. Today, the dog bone from last night down to the traditional square of formats of competition. Simply click on the match that you would like to follow along with. Well, how about this? The consolation semis, and we have the top 3 seeds all in action on the backside. The freshman from Penn State, Luke Lilladol, matched up against the ACC champion from Virginia Tech, Eddie Ventresca, while on the right, Matt Ramos, Purdue, Sheldon Seymour of Lehigh. Consolation semis, the winner of these matches will wrestle for 3rd place later on. The losers come back in the 5th place bout.
And Sean, the significance of Luke Lilladol being in these rounds today, he's an All-American. First time Penn State's had an All-American at 125 since Nico Megaludis in 2016.
We ought to talk about how Lilladol is so quick. Eddie Ventresca has a really quick sweep single, and when he gets to it, he is pretty proficient at finishing. These guys both move their feet well, and when you have a contrast of Stiles with Ramos, who wants to create space, uses length, but Seymour is strong, big 125-pounder, wants to stay tight.
Stalemate with Seymour and Ramos. They go back to the center a little more than a minute into the opening period. Scoreless with Lilladol and Ventresca.
you'll notice by Seymour, he keeps his position relatively well. He doesn't rush. He kind of stalks and moves forward. But that's a really good shot by Ramos.
I just can't get out of my mind the perseverance of Ramos. Who will ever forget his big pin of Spencer Lee in the semis 2 years ago? He was a finalist. Then he missed the podium last year. Here he is back. He was expected to be in the finals himself. Disappointment. Now the opportunity to come back and get as high as third. Looks like he's in on that single. He got a low ankle, driving through.
It's kind of going to be a theme for this session this morning about resiliency, because all these guys that are wrestling right now are some of the most resilient athletes in any sport. 3 rough days, mentally and physically.
And Rock, you look at the situation here with Seymour on the right from Lehigh, Ventresca, Virginia Tech. These are athletes who lost in the semifinals last night. It's such a quick turnaround, not just physically, but mentally, and how will they bounce back from that loss, coming so close to wrestling for a national championship.
You hear it often said, the semifinal slide. Jordan Burroughs said that, and I said that's actually a good point, because after that semifinals, you have to turn it around and figure out a way to continue to wrestle. But oftentimes after that crushing loss, as you said, you may not have it mentally. That's when the coaches come in and really build you up.
Short time with Ventresca and Lillidahl. First period winding down. Ramos still leading 3-1 behind his first period takedown. Collar tie here as they hit 10 seconds to go.
Seymour's really got to close that gap, because Ramos is doing a good job of keeping his hips away, giving it a longer distance for Seymour to get in on his attacks.
Eddie Ventresca to start the second period in the top position. Gonna have to work up those legs. And he does, near the edge. Ventresca has had a resurgence this year after the red shirt a year ago. He was an All-American in 2023. A little bit of an unknown that year. He entered the Nationals as the 27 seed. He ended up taking 7th in the country.
Watch Lillidahl when he's off the whistle. He's going to seal that right elbow to his thigh. Watch. You see him seal it right in there. He's trying to beat Ventresca to get in inside of him. Something that you want to teach your wrestlers and wrestlers, always get your elbows in, elbows in. Keep them from getting underneath.
You mentioned the word long, Rock, when you talked about Ramos. As his length is hard to deal with, but it also creates his own challenges as far as lowering the level, because you want to be lower than your opponent, and he's got to work at lowering his level because he's always naturally higher. There it gets in. That's that low ankle drive. Nice job of fending off the shot by Ramos. Good job by Seymour.
Shows the strength of Seymour. He really gave him a lot of pressure forward.
Seymour off that front head position, and the referee will stop it. Stalemate. We will go back into the center. 50 seconds to go. 3-2 Ramos. Low scoring with Lillidahl and Ventresca.
Waiting for a good scramble here with Ventresca and Lillidahl. We're being a little patient here. These are the best of the best in the NCAAs at 125, so it's going to be more like a chess match anyway.
And you just can't get past the fact that they had to really overcome disappointment overnight and come out and be the warriors that they are. But that's when you trust your training. I mean, this isn't done this weekend. All of it's done, years and years of training. And there's another opportunity by Ramos, and he scores at the end of the period. That's the veteran. When you can score on the end of the period, end up on top, unanswered points. 3 points, takedown for Ramos. No opportunity for Seymour to respond, so he goes up 6-2. Only 1 period left.
And Ramos feeling good on his feet. He chooses neutral to start this third period.
Ramos started at Minnesota and then transferred to Purdue. Been on world teams, on age group world teams, and certainly he does not look at this senior year at Purdue as the end of his wrestling career. He has international aspirations, as does Luke Lildo, but he's got a lot of opportunity left in college as a true freshman. Here he is on the podium for Penn State.
Riding time is not a factor with Ventresca and Lildo. Ventresca's doing a good job of keeping the elbows in. He's almost out, and we're back on our feet, 1-1.
Ventresca has certainly been involved in a lot of these low-scoring type matches this weekend in Philadelphia. Was introduced to the sport by his neighbors, actually, when he was a young child growing up. Told us his parents really didn't know a lot about wrestling at the time, but he had some friends in the neighborhood that were big wrestlers, and that's how he was introduced to the sport. And what a job he's done for Coach Tony Roby in Blacksburg.
Ramos is doing a good job of hiding his head. You see Seymour's trying to do a headlock, and he's kind of keeping his head a little low. You see it, just a little low. So his head, if his head is up, his chin is up.
Third time in on that low ankle shot successfully. And he gets the 3-point takedown. And talk about 2 takedowns with no time left on the clock. That's the way you seal a deal. And Ramos moves on to the finals of Consolation. The opportunity to get as high as third. And when you get to that third place after the crushing loss earlier in the tournament, there's a feeling like none other. Climbing back, scratching, clawing, getting as high as you can, and ending your career with a win. That's the goal.
Short time in the third. Lilidol and Ventresca tied at 1.
Lildo has a nice drop down to his opponent's left leg. So as Ventresca leads with that left leg, watch Lildo kind of just drop and catch the heel. Meanwhile, Ventresca, he'll hit a nasty sweep single on you.
Yeah, Lildo so quick. He darts to both sides.
First one to score, sudden victory. 2 minutes up on the clock as Ventresca comes in on that low shot. Re-attack there by
the dart.
Right back to that left leg as we had talked about earlier.
This is a lot about feet as well, and he covers it and gets the 3 and the win.
The roar of Penn State can be heard on this early Saturday morning in Philadelphia as they move one step closer to clinching that team title.
Let's not overlook that these consolation matches do make a difference in securing a national championship or making sure that you move up. So let's look at it. It was a great re-attack to that left leg that we had talked about. And good scrambling by Ventresca, but better job by holding on for Lildo. Starts to elevate, trip, still scrambling there. He doesn't secure it until he gets that second leg. Sudden victory.
We talked about the roar of Penn State, the Nittany Lions. Nobody has had a bigger roar than Carter Starace throughout his career. Looking for a piece of history tonight, becoming the first D1 5-time national champion. Standing in his way, Parker Keckeisen, the reigning champ from Northern Iowa at this weight. It's going to kick off our coverage tonight. The very first match on ESPN, 7 o'clock Eastern, Starace and Keckeisen. Well, just a few moments ago, I'd say Penn State woke up grumpy today. We bumped to 149. Shane Van Ness looking for the fall to try to clinch the team title for Penn State.
Yeah, he finds Stiles head and knee too close together, cinches it up, locks it up. Big fall for Van Ness.
The Nittany Lions with their first 2 wrestlers out of the gate on this Saturday. Liljedahl, a 25 wins and sudden victory. Van Ness, the bonus points for Penn State with the first period fall, takes a bow for good measure. Cael Sanderson and the Nittany Lions, your official 2025 national champions. They've won 12 of the last 14. As we swing it down Matt's side to Quint Kesney.
You could not have asked for a better start. Liljedahl, the point of the spear, and momentum is building here. Saturday morning is a lot about being a team. You know, guys are going through this together, and when you have behind the scenes, you're training, you're warming up, you're losing weight, you're eating together, to get off to a great start, you can feel that momentum here. The Penn State fan section just above mat 1, here early, here loud. They've got it rolling right now, their 12th national championship.
TJ, let's put this in perspective, what Cael Sanderson has been able to accomplish. I mean, you go to a tournament like this, you see how tough it is to win an individual match. To come away with the consistency for more than a decade, incredible.
Well, you know, like I said, I've followed dynasties all my life as a Yankee fan, but I also grew up with Dan Gable as a hero, and then he takes over Iowa. 21 years, he wins 15 NCAA titles and 21 Big Ten titles. I've watched it happen, and Cael also knows about Dan Gable, knows what it takes, and now I believe he's taken it to another level, and it's a special coach and a special program right now, Penn State.
Penn State won the team title last year by a record 100 points. They finished with 172.5. Bartlett right now for the Nittany Lions in a battle as he pops through, and he'll get the 2 on the reversal.
Good motion, knowing where your body is. But look at Coderhahn. Coderhahn's in a good position right here to scoot away, but Bartlett staying tough. Good series, good flow right there. Did a Granby roll, got the reversal, and look, he shaved his mustache. Whole new look. He's on a mission.
The hair is gone. Clean look on a clean day and a clean approach for Penn State.
You know, again, on that Penn State too, Sean, I mean, when you look at what Cael Sanderson brings to the table, he brings a culture of we just got to get better every day. It's not the goal to win the national title. It's their goal to be the best they can be. And I think out of the overflow of that kind of culture comes titles.
Tied at 6. Josh Coderhahn, Navy. Bo Bartlett of Penn State. 45 seconds to go. You see in the lower left-hand corner, riding time not coming into the equation here.
This is where you see the training, as TJ alluded to earlier. When you're tired like this, you don't know what to do, you go back to muscle memory. What's your mind been trained to do? All these times that your coach is put you in these awkward situations that you hated your coach for, it's going to pay off right now. 20 seconds left.
Yeah, who can execute when they're tired? Everybody's tired. The elite execute when they're tired. It's that final 1% that makes the difference.
Snap down right to a double. He felt that military strength of Coderhahn.
Josh Coderhahn, the senior, grew up in the Midwest in Illinois. He's been wrestling for 16 years. He talked about this weekend being the final chapter in a career that he's brought a lot of pride to the Naval Academy. Penn State with a 1-2 punch. Tyler Kasak just getting started. Meyer, Shapiro, the 1 versus the 2 in the consolation semis.
Everybody expected to see this tonight, but this is a tough tournament. It's hard to win, and then to win, and both these guys are coming off of just disappointment in expecting to be in the finals, but here they are trying to do the next best thing, and that's to get a third place. Good motion there by Bartlett. Look at the strength of Cardinas. Oh my goodness! Look at that! What fluid motion there. And there's the Bartlett smile we enjoy.
Kale even cracking a little grin on that last exchange.
Went to a double, fought it off by Cardinas, popped his head to a side, right to back points, opened it up.
A couple of overtime wins in this consolation semifinal round for Penn State. Bartlett to wrestle for third place a little bit later on as we go back down to Quint.
Coach, congratulations. I want to be the first to tell you you've clinched the overall championship again. What's your reaction?
We're excited. I mean, we knew we were close coming into this round, but right now it's just about these guys finishing strong and just kind of being themselves this final day of the season.
I think of two words for today, opportunity, but I also think of gratitude. What do you focus on?
Yeah, I mean, they're both, one and the same, really. I mean, it's just got to be grateful for these opportunities. Obviously, we're blessed. Life's tough, it's challenging, and we get to play a game here. Our stress is a wrestling match, so we're definitely blessed.
So perspective is critical.
Perspective's everything, yeah, I agree.
Thank you, Coach.
Good stuff, thank you.
Thank you very much, Quint. Kale will now turn his attention toward the top seed of this tournament. Tyler Kasak, the sophomore, and he has Shapiro exposed for a brief moment.
There's control, no control yet, no control yet, no control. Hey, they got to talk about that one. They got to talk about that. Let's talk. They gave 3 to Kasak. And there's the brick, an angry brick thrown by Coach Gray.
Yeah, we'll have to look at that again because I don't see where the argument is, because he certainly had control, but it was wild. So we get in, drop down, snap. Then Kasak comes up, elevator over, and it looks like almost, not yet, but right here.
We don't know when the time went out. So right there, I agree. Athlete from that perspective.
Yeah, so it's a time issue.
I don't know if we can get a perspective where we can see the time on that as well, but yes, the way where you saw it, that's absolutely a takedown. But as long as there was a little bit of motion by Shapiro, you keep playing it off.
Yeah, there wasn't a takedown until the last part. That's
Correct.
Why the time comes in.
That's really, it's really a timing issue here. Not about control there. It's just when control was established. And it's hard for us to be able to see the clock as well as what was going on at the same time. But I was a little surprised that Meyer tried to, go upper body. Kasak has always been seen as a strong guy, but Meyer is just very fluent. It was confirmed, 3 takedown.
Ironically, we were talking to Cornell head coach Mike Gray this morning outside our production offices about bricks on Saturday. A lot of these teams have a surplus of challenges, so if in doubt, they're going to throw the brick. He actually had a rule suggestion going forward that in the future, frivolous bricks that challenges that go incorrect, you should be deducted a point on the scoreboard to prevent the challenges you will see in this round today.
Well, leave it to Cornell to come up with a
because you can just throw a brick to get a stoppage. If you've got 3 bricks
right.
and only a certain amount of matches, why not throw it?
That would speed up the tempo without a doubt.
I hate to take away the strategy, man. I'll tell you what, I've seen some really strategic bricks thrown, and I know why they're thrown, and I don't argue with them. And they are, a tool in the hand of the coach.
So the question that you asked was, how come there wasn't a count there? Because you say he dropped down to the leg, there should have been a count. It was the natural flow of the wrestling that put Meyer Shapiro down. He didn't automatically drop down. It's just how things went. Meyer Shapiro is one of those guys that you would see him do a lot of great things on a freestyle, but he really enjoys folk style. And he's committed to this ride. long arms.
And athleticism. He is not afraid to roll through, loves to put himself in wrestling positions because he feels like he'll come out on top.
Same position that it was in the second period. This is a bad situation. Wow. That's the same position that was in before. Going back on what Q said when we were talking to the Cornell staff, and I said, how's Meyer doing? You know, after that tough loss that everybody kind of expecting to win, he said, he's fine. And then I saw Meyer dapped me up like everything was good. So looks like he shook it off.
What did he tell us last week when we had a chance to sit down with him? He said, you can't cut loose string, and that was referring to his offense. He does not want to put any restrictions on how creative he is with his offense, how fluid he is on the mat, how loose. It's going to need some of that as we cross over the halfway point in this second period. 4-0, the top seed from Penn State. Nittany Lions looking to stay perfect in this Consolation semifinal round.
And Kasak is good at holding position. Now, you know he still has to attack because it was in his match against Blaze that he got taken down late in the match. So he can't shut it down too early.
He had the remarkable run last year as a true freshman in Kansas City on his way to earning All-American honors. He rolled off 7 straight wins after the opening round loss at the 2024 NCAAs. He became the 9th wrestler ever to do that, and quite simply, it was a blistering path through the Consolations. He had a fall. I think he had 3 major decisions in there as well. Just a bonus point machine as a freshman coming through the backside.
You talk about mental toughness. That's mental toughness there.
He came into the lineup because of Van Ness getting hurt last year. He was a natural 41-pounder, goes up to 49, next man up, and accomplishes what you talked about, Sean. Says a lot about him, and now continuing to grow up at 157 and back on the podium. Still with a red shirt in front of him. He's a true sophomore.
Penn State, we talk about their depth and their recruits coming in. It's a masterful job that literally Kale and his team has to do to figure out how to use the red shirts, how to shift guys and weight, who's getting big.
Strength of Kasak here, as you see Shapiro trying to rip away, working near the edge. Kasak keeping that foot in bounds. Boy, that was masterful, working near the edge.
Masterful is exactly right. Great word, Sean, because he knew right where he was. He had that toe in, any part of your body that's in, and the wrestling continues.
The commitment to the ride here. Mat wrestling is a differentiator in college wrestling.
That was about 10 seconds extra ticked because of that toe on, kept the clock ticking.
Now you gotta let him go. All right, we got 1 minute and 11 seconds left. 1 takedown difference. We were talking about this yesterday, that unfortunately athletes wait too long to do their sprint. They look, all right, I got, 10 more seconds before I can start. You start your sprint early. Trust your training.
Shapiro slips in that right arm underhook. Van Ness circles back in. And we'll go back to the center, 41 seconds.
41 seconds. Kasak is a strong wrestler. Misdirection has to come with Meyer Shapiro. And he has the slickness to do it. Good snap down.
Yeah, good movement with his feet. That's what he's doing. He's trying to, he's had a lot of data working to this point, just looking for what have I learned even in this match to find that angle, to lower my level, get in and get this opportunity. What's your go-to shot?
Surprised that Kasak does not get hit for stalling.
There comes the stall call, just as you indicated, Brock. Big snap again by Shapiro, but he's hitting it on the part of the mat where he just doesn't have a lot of room to follow through after that snap.
Go back to your training. Kasak has to just be disciplined. Don't fall for the misdirection. Be disciplined.
You got one shot here if you're Shapiro. And really you don't when your opponent can take a stall call like that and work the edge.
Yeah, he can run backwards now.
The top seed in one of our highlighted matches in this consolation round, Penn State picks up another win. The top seed at 157 advances to the third place match, 4-2. A win over the returning All-American from a year ago, Meyer Shapiro. Couple of good-looking sophomores, and the future of this weight rock solid. Penn State, for the 12th time in the last 14 years, has wrapped up the team title. The Nittany Lions right now sitting with 151.5 points. Nebraska second, Oklahoma State, Iowa a distant third and fourth. Penn State came out gunning this morning. The third and final day here in Philly. It was the young freshman Lillidahl, followed by the Bo Bartlett sudden victory win. Van Ness sent this crowd into a frenzy with the fall. Kasak delivers the win. All Penn State today. Just a few moments ago, Penn State ran their record to 5-1 in this consolation semifinal round with Levi Haynes.
With a final takedown to seal it. Going back to your training all those time. You got 30 seconds, you got to get a takedown. Levi Haynes figured it out, moving on to the consolation finals.
Haynes gets the takedown. He rides him out for the final few seconds, and Penn State, another wrestler, moving on into the third place match, this time at 174 pounds. Max McGonagle of Minnesota, scoreless in the first period. Big Ten matchup with Jackson Smith of Maryland. Meanwhile, on the right, a couple of veterans battling with Chris Foca and Dustin Plott.
Dustin Plott, can't say enough about him. He's a guy that you know he's so good. He just has been against some absolute animals in his weight classes. Guys just rolling around, trying to get positions.
Let's check in with Quint.
Well, the green corner is empty right now, and AJ Ferrari's got about less than a minute and a half to report to his corner. Wyoming's wrestler Novak is pacing on mat 3, paging AJ Ferrari, and here he is, as if to make a late arrival, and the fans, you hear it. AJ is loved by some and not so much by others. He is a polarizing figure in college wrestling, to say the least.
What a showman. He knows he has 5 minutes to get out, and he took all of, well, not all the time, but he took enough time. Still takes his time, walks to the corner, gets himself ready. And I like it. I like it, the mental games that you play at this high level. And now he knows everybody's going to watch him.
Ferrari coming off a semifinal loss last night to Iowa's Stephen Buchanan. One of 3 Hawkeye finalists, a really good night for the University of Iowa. How will Ferrari bounce back? The 2021 NCAA champion back then wrestling for Oklahoma State as a true freshman.
So the challenge that he had last night with Buchanan obviously was getting out of bottom, but when he shoots, it's kind of straight ahead. And when you can kind of time swing shots straight ahead, down block, and do those things, it's harder for the opponent to score.
Ferrari always moving forward, looking to control both the pace and the ties there. But he is always stalking his opponent, pushing him to the outside.
His opponent, Joey Novak, has become a key young fixture in this Wyoming lineup for Coach Mark Branch. He really stepped into a leadership role. Wyoming was decimated by injuries, like so many teams across the country. Jory Volk, one of the top lightweights in the country, was injured early, and Novak had to step up and take that leadership role on that Volk had done such a wonderful job with.
That's right. When you lose an All-American like Volk, who was highly rated before he got injured, it's going to be a toll on your team. So Wyoming, fans pay attention. Wyoming's going to be really strong next year.
Novak looking to try to find that leg, and you see the reshot by Ferrari. He has the leg elevated.
And really nice job there on that reshot, coming straight to his feet, looking to face him. It's about footwork here. It's not so much about brawn. It's about physics more than it is strength. Wants to, oh, nice job. Cut across, covers the hips. Really, really nice execution by Ferrari.
And he's going to look for that wrist. Once he gets the wrist, he's tough to get out. Or keep his opponent down, rather. He also knows, you've seen him, he'll keep a foot in just to make sure he gets as much riding time as possible.
Ferrari up on those toes, driving that pressure forward, sticking in that thigh pry. Inside 20 seconds to go in this opening period. Position that we've seen Ferrari excel in throughout the course of the year. This top position, grinded his way with a ride in the quarterfinal round. Finishing on top through the opening period, a 3-0 lead for AJ Ferrari. Ferrari competed a couple of seasons for Oklahoma State, won that national title in 21, started the following year 10-0 before an automobile accident took away the rest of the season. He went unattached for a year, found a home on the West Coast, and has settled in, suffering his first defeat of the year late last night to Buchanan. Made the announcement that he was going to wrestle for Cal State Bakersfield back on August 23rd. Quick, explosive stand-up, and he is away. No trouble there for Ferrari. And a 4-0 lead at 197. Let's go to sudden victory with Max McAnally of Minnesota, Jackson Smith of Maryland.
Jackson Smith, Maryland coach, Clemson's first All-American. And the young guy, McAnally, the freshman, lassos him on the edge, lassos Smith on the edge, and gets that takedown and the win.
How good must that feel for McAnally after losing in the Big Tens in sudden victory to Starachi, and then last night losing in sudden victory in the semis to Parker Keckeisen.
Had to feel good to get that out. And you know what? May have started a little slow there, but then again, he got it at the end. Good job by McAnally. He's going to be a star in the future. And
good job by Novak there, coming back with a takedown on the edge against Ferrari, tightening the score to 4-3. A lot of wrestling left.
It's not often that you see Ferrari get taken down. He's a tough customer on his feet.
This is going to be so interesting to see how Ferrari continues to wrestle here, because this is just wrestling. It's not the stage he wants to be on.
got the height there.
A couple of former teammates going at it at heavyweight. Owen Trephan, Isaac Trumble, and it's Trephan of Lehigh with that 3-1 lead.
Trephan came out for an early takedown. It's got to be, I mean, we were talking about the Stout, literally blood brothers wrestling earlier. These guys are roommates and practice partners for their careers at NC State. So, you know, it's almost like a brother against brother.
Yeah, it's tough stuff. I mean, it's not easy. Last night, watching former teammates Fish from Oklahoma State and Soldate from Michigan, both teammates at Michigan State, and they had to wrestle each other in the blood round to see who's an All-American and who's not. Fish getting the win in overtime over Soldate.
Terrific job by Novak to ride out Ferrari to close out the second period.
It's a real
Novak,
gut check.
Yeah, gut check time, and he's getting ready to take the position underneath.
Like I said, this is not the stage he ever dreams about, Ferrari. This is, you know, this is in the pits. This is just grind out stuff that only matters when winning a consolation prize matters to you, when resilience matters to you. And so you got to dig deep at this time.
Trephan marches into the second period, leading 3-1. Trephan won a couple of ACC championships with Trumble as a teammate. Owen was the heavyweight. Trumble at the time down at 97. This is Trumble's first year wrestling heavyweight. With Trumble's move up to the heavyweight division, Trephan did not have a spot. A lot of coordinated effort. Pat Papalizio, the head coach for NC State. Pat Santoro, the head coach of Lehigh. Those two coordinating. Papalizio really wanting to make sure Trephan had a chance to compete, and it's worked out so well for both of them.
This is what we've seen in the past with Ferrari, being very tough on top. He has good awareness.
Really tough, really tough. If Novak figures out a way to get out from here, he is doing it against one of the best on the top, and Ferrari's putting on a great ride.
This is a key start for Novak. You keep an eye on that riding time. Approaching a minute for Ferrari, so he knows this is a key whistle coming up for the young sophomore.
And Trumble's doing a good job of keeping Trephan down. He's been solid on top for a good portion of his career.
Novak knew the importance of that restart. A little bit too quick that time off the whistle, so he'll be given a caution.
Matt wrestling here. Wow, this is the mental toughness to get a stall call early against you and to still wrestle like this by Ferrari. Now it's over a minute of riding time. Novak can't keep going to that roll.
No, he's got to try something different, but it's tough when you've got a tight waist like Ferrari's and then a head lever. I mean, you want to be able to do something different, but Sean's point, he had one shot on that whistle and wasn't able to capitalize. And this is where Ferrari's really great, stretching him out.
He's doing a really good job here.
Gutsy ride. Novak came back and got that takedown to tighten it up, and Ferrari was tested, and that's what this round is all about. He's going to pass the test.
Yeah, I think this is more revealing than anything that we've ever seen on the front side from AJ. First time he's been in the wrestlebacks. For him to show up today and persevere and compete through these adverse scenarios, it tells me that he has grown and he has matured as a young man and as a competitor.
Absolutely. It's easy to battle when things are going your way. And
no change with Trumble and Trephan as they go into the third period. Trumble's choice, and he chooses down. So let's see what Trephan can do on top. Ferrari puts the finishing touches on Novak. A 5-3 win for AJ Ferrari. And he will come back later on and wrestle for third. And let's see if Ferrari does the patented split, and right on cue, yes he does with the Roadrunners.
At least he's consistent, man. So you're looking at that match between Trumble and Trephan. It's 3-2, but riding time is in favor of Trumble, so essentially it's a 3-3 match.
Top seed at 197, Jacob Cardinas, a 1-0 lead on Little Rock, Stephen Little. Another outstanding year for Little Rock and what they were able to accomplish. Little has been one of their main weapons in that room the last couple of years.
this is a lot of gut check at between Trumble and Trephan as well, because you know they're big guys, and it's tempting at the end of a match like this to take a bad shot and say, oh, I took it. You got to be able to go all the way to the tiebreakers here, and sometimes you just say, I don't want to. And so this is where the elite heavyweights are strategic and know, hey, I'm not going to do anything dumb here.
And there was a stall call against Trephan. Keep that in your back pocket. So Trephan has got to come out. Riding time is in favor of Trumble.
So now he's got to do something.
This is where we talk about mat wrestling. The mat wrestling of Trumble has been the difference and looks to be the difference. Riding time will make it a 4-3 win by Isaac Trumble.
Respect between the two former teammates. The second period ride the difference for Trumble. North Carolina State, a 4-3 win. Trumble entered this weekend fighting a knee injury that he sustained right before the ACCs. We shift our attention to Cardinas and Little. Low scoring. Cardinas with the ride, the mat return, 1:12, third and final period.
Watch the tilt coming. Cardinas does a cross wrist, and Little is fighting that off. Fans might be watching and saying, what's going on? They're fighting underneath for that wrist control.
Stall, he has that wrist, rolled him through. Little,
did he get one?
Let's see if the official gives him one, and they are. So the escape ties it.
And that was the dilemma right there. You know, he didn't really have to try that. He was riding really tough there. There was no optic saying he was going to get a stall call, and as he tried that tilt, Little did a really nice job of scooting out of there and getting the escape.
Riding time is not a factor, but there is a stall call against Little from Little Rock.
Oh, nice low single drive through and 3. What a clutch takedown by Cardinas.
That was good. Didn't waste time.
Nope, lowered his level, penetrated. So fluid.
Watch this, drop down, cuff the ankle and move your feet. Cuff the ankle, keep moving your feet, secures it, takes the lead. It looks like he's going to the Consolation finals. Six seconds left. Now keep in mind, even the ones who don't win this round, they still have another match today, and that's for 5th place.
The 3-time U23 world medalist in his 1 year in Ann Arbor, Jacob Cardinas. Hard-fought 5-2 win over Stephen Little. And Michigan advances into the consolation final. A few moments ago, Patrick Kennedy in on an attack. Cade DeVos, his opponent. And in sudden victory, just 9 seconds in, Kennedy gets the 3. Strong day 2 for Tom Brands in Iowa, and Kennedy picks up the consolation win. Just getting started. Always an emotional day as you move into the consolation finals a little bit later on. 3rd and final day from Philly. Earlier in this session, Penn State clinched the team title. The Nittany Lions right now sitting with 155 points, 50 points ahead of current 2nd place Nebraska as we get ready to move in to the consolation finals. Penn State a little short-handed today. For more on that, here's Quint.
Yes, I think that's the only significant news from the consolation round, the semifinals thus far. Heavyweight Greg Kirkfleet had to medically default out of this competition. Kirkfleet has an incredible resume. He's last year's NCAA champion at the heavyweight weight class. He's a Big Ten champion. He finishes his career with 92 wins. He was wrestling earlier in the bracket with a knee brace. It's a lower body injury. He's had an incredible career, so a disappointing end to a guy whose picture is going to be up in that Penn State wrestling room for years as an NCAA champion.
Yeah, I hate to see that, but what a career it was for Greg Kirkfleet. His teammates will keep this show rolling coming up tonight. Mitchell Messenbrink will look to cap off a perfect season. The national runner-up from a year ago will try to take down Michael Caliendo for the 2nd time this season. Caliendo, Messenbrink for the title at 165. Championship coverage tonight, 7 o'clock Eastern on ESPN. Let's get back to the action here inside the Wells Fargo Center. These are consolation finals, 7th place matches. Jacob Van D, Tyler Knox, Nebraska, Stanford. Van D with a 3-1 lead late in the 2nd period. Meanwhile, on the right for North Dakota State, Gavin Drexler. In a battle with Sammy Alvarez of Ryder.
You love to see stuff like this where Alvarez from Ryder and Drexler of North Dakota State. This is, good stuff, saying that you can win in multiple schools. You don't always have to go to the high level, the Big 10s, the Big 12s. Hey, you got a MAC, Big 12 school that what we would consider mid-majors.
Jacob Van D, the redshirt sophomore, grew up right here in the state of Pennsylvania, Union City, Cathedral Prep. Talked about how much he has learned from Nebraska assistant coach Brian Snyder, especially in that top position.
Oh, nice. That was a nice slide by to a double.
Very nice. Yeah, Brian Snyder, 4-time All-American for Nebraska, longtime assistant for Mark Manning. Winningest coach in Nebraska's history. There he is, the new Silver Fox. Since Joe McFarland retired at Michigan, he gets the title of the Silver Fox.
TJ, you cover the Big Ten. Is there a guy more passionate about his student athletes than Mark Manning?
No, nor as optimistic. You got a guy, every one of his wrestlers, and I'm not saying it's any different, but what you're talking about is he's for you. And they know he's for, their coach is for them. And that is rare.
Coach getting in the stance there in that timeout.
Yeah, I'm
still got it.
I've been working on it the last few months, and
your energy level today is intense. There's no drop off.
Well, my guys on my team, they feed me a few Celsiuses and get me going. But
what'd you feed your team this weekend?
Man, I thought we wrestled really well at Big Tens and during the year, and I thought it was just a carryover from Big Tens. Guy over here, Jacob Van D, he got concussion protocol at Big Tens, and Christopher Mento is going for 3rd and 4th. hurt his ankle. He couldn't wrestle the last day. So I think we lost some points on the board there, but
what's going on here? This is domination.
Yeah, and it's with the I think he won in overtime last year. We call him the cardiac kid. He's won more overtimes than anyone in history of NCAA wrestling, I think, and he's just a tough young man. He's
a great way to finish his year.
Amazing, and he's done so much for us, and I love him like my own son.
Coach, we'll see you tonight. You got 3 in a row. Busy evening for you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What a year it's been for Nebraska. Jacob Van D, 7th place. Van D, who came out of the holidays red hot, picked up rank wins over Braden Davis, Tyler Wells, Julian Farber. Little edge to him when he competes. You need an edge when you come through this backside. Let's go back to Drexler and Alvarez for the finish.
Look at the fight here. No one is conceded. Could it be? Look at the fight here. They're going at it. Alvarez continue to move. First, look for cradle. 7th place is so important to these guys. They are continuing to go.
Oh, nice switch over there, a little hip switch and action. If he can cross face hard and get behind a leg. Now, Alvarez, keep that other leg, push down, stay in the splits. Drexler did, oh, nice job of fending off that attack by Drexler.
And now we have overtime. These guys are going at it. Coach Blanc at North Dakota State. Coach Hangy at Ryder.
Alvarez in his first ever national tournament this year. A career that had COVID and transfers.
It's been quite a journey for Sammy Alvarez. Spent 1 year at Oklahoma State. That was a situation where he wrestled only 4 duels for the Cowboys.
Wrestled his former teammate Jordan Williams. They were both on Oklahoma State's team. Williams beat him out for the spot, and then they both transfer, and they had to wrestle here.
Sammy talked about the opportunity to come back home after starting his career. Spent 4 years with Rutgers before the 1 year in Stillwater. Grew up in Garfield, New Jersey. Talked about he wanted to be the big fish in a little pond at Ryder, and the Bronx is a program we've talked a lot about over the past couple of days as Drexler comes in.
Keep moving. Both guys here. Enough situations. That enough for Alvarez with the takedown. Great scrambling, finishing up with the double. That was a great scramble at the end of the 3rd period, right into overtime. Well done, Mr. Alvarez.
A 2-time NCAA qualifier. Had to wait 5 years after COVID canceled his first national championship appearance. He ends it with a win. Nebraska, the #2 team right now. They have been all smiles. Those smiles being felt back home in Lincoln. Their leader, Mark Manning, hoping that he can deliver not 1, not 2, but 3 national champions for the Cornhuskers. The middleweights is where it's at. Ridge Lovett, the 3-time All-American, the national runner-up from back in 2022, standing in his way, the defending champion from the ACC, Caleb Henson. Henson perfect on the year. Lovett back into the finals. The finals tonight, 7 o'clock Eastern on ESPN. Let's go to the pin zone. Cam Steed, Missouri.
Here's Cam on Cam. In shot. Watch what happens here in the explosion. Explosion, come up top. Here we go, half Nelson, and seal the deal. And when he readjusts, chest on chest, there's no question. Steed, who sat behind national champion Keegan O'Toole, got better, didn't get in the portal when he could. Now he's an All-American, believing in the Tiger style of wrestling.
The first person he went over and hugged in that Missouri corner was assistant coach Kendrick Maple. who he always watched growing up. In fact, he was compared to Maple quite a bit when he was growing up in Collinsville, Oklahoma. So a nice finish for Cam Steed, a redshirt sophomore. We go to the 7th place match at 157 pounds. Matty Bianchi, Little Rock, Caleb Fish, Oklahoma State. Bianchi with a 4-1 lead. Minute 23 to go, 3rd period. Fish latching on to that 2-on-1.
TJ, you covered the Big Ten. You saw Fish when he was at Michigan State. How have you seen his improvement as an Oklahoma State Cowboy?
Well, one, he's always been on my all-tough team. He goes down to Oklahoma State, and it's the guys in the room, Rock. I mean, you know, you go down there, one, with Hamady and, you know, Amin in the room, but also Jamison and all those guys, and he has just become a more all-round wrestler. He's always been tough, but he has elevated both his on his feet, but especially on his top game as well.
And making that commitment, being a 65-pounder, to come down to 57.
His first year at 157, starter Teague Travis had been dealing with an injury. So when you look at Caleb Fish, his red shirt was pulled just a few days before the trip to the Keene invite in early December. His plan was initially to redshirt, to bulk up, get ready for a starting role next year. Ended up making his season debut in Bedlam. Very disciplined. He told us cutting weight was relatively easy for him, and just so excited to get back into that lineup and contribute to what was a solid year for Oklahoma State.
And that's what I was thinking about. One, you not only as an individual get something that you were never able to get. You get to the round of 12, you were not able to get over to the hump. Then you transfer and you're in a program. So exciting all year. You know, the spotlight was on Oklahoma State, and they come here and have such a solid weekend, and he's on. He gets a medal and on a trophy team, and you might not have seen that coming a year ago. Jimmy Kennedy there in the corner, assistant coach to David Taylor.
In this world of the portal, transfer, NIL, has there been a better pickups than what Oklahoma State has done in getting return on their investment with these transfers? 4 transfers, 4 All-Americans.
I'd say 100% is pretty impressive. Good point, Rock.
2 are finalists. Fish first time being All-American. If there is a team, let's give it up for Bianchi. We're talking about Oklahoma State. Little Rock is doing something. Second year that they had 2 All-Americans. Bianchi.
It's a family affair with Little Rock and the Bianchi brothers, his older brothers, both Paul and Joey. He's the 3rd and youngest brother to hail from Two Rivers, a program that was made from scratch 20+ years in Little Rock, the home of the Octagon, rocking and rolling. 174. Dean Hamady has been rocking and rolling. The move to Stillwater. He's into the finals for the first time as he gets ready to try to figure out Keegan O'Toole. O'Toole's never lost in the national championship match. He's 2-0, both those times at 165. He gets his first crack up a weight at 174 tonight. 125 pounds in the match for 5th place. Eddie Ventresca, 50 seconds to go, a 7-3 lead on the semifinalists from last night, and Sheldon Seymour of Lehigh.
And he was going for it all here. Continued to wrestle and look really sharp if it's takedowns and his top work. That's not just moving his feet well, but the top work has been solid for Eddie Ventresca. 3rd seed, All-American for the 2nd time. So it's 10-3. Riding time is locked, and they certainly want to make sure that they can get the all-important bonus points.
Future looking really good for Virginia Tech. The job that Tony Roby has done. He brought in Zach Tonelli this offseason as one of the assistants. And Rock, I know we had a chance to sit down with Eddie Ventresca earlier this year, and he really credited Tonelli with a lot of his improvement this year, coming off that injury-filled season a year ago.
Sometimes it's good to have a fresh perspective in your wrestling.
And speaking of tenacious, Tonelli, That's his middle name there. And so that brings a tenacity to the program. He was a tough wrestler at Wisconsin, All-American. And I think you make a good point, Rock. I mean, top 10 is important. And Virginia Tech, right there, knocking on the door, and with some wins here, crawl into the top 10. And that just says a lot about your program.
Couple of ACC schools fighting to finish in the top 10. NC State currently 9th. Virginia Tech right there as well, as Ventresca picks up the win for the Hokies. Maxed out a pit. We stick with the ACC theme. A 3-0 lead right now over Camden McDaniel of Nebraska.
Yeah, how about this freshman from Nebraska, McDaniel, stepping in at 197 after the boys All Red and Pinto and Minto all go down a weight class from the year before, and Trell Taylor. And he steps in as a freshman at 197 and has had a great year and becomes an All-American, 1 of 8 for the Huskers.
Record-setting year for Nebraska. McDaniel comes up empty. Now Stout looking for that whip over, drops down into a leg. You see the chain wrestling there from Stout as he gets the takedown.
Really good chain wrestling there. Popped him over with the underhook, tried to follow, chase the hamstring, get behind Fluent. He's only a sophomore. He's got some good stuff ahead of him.
Stout coming off an ACC championship for the Panthers, won the Midlands as well this year. Hit made their hay in the upper weights. Augustine, Heller, Stout, and the heavyweight Pitzer. Good job here by Stout to stay with McDaniel as those two go tumbling out of bounds.
I like that. When someone starts to do a Grammy roll, you have 2 options. Either you can roll with them or let them go in and chase them. And then what Stout did when the Grammy was happening, when I say Grammy, it's like a roll action. He let the roll continue to happen, and then after the roll was completed, then you attack. Double thigh pry right underneath the hamstring areas.
McDaniel getting back up to his feet, not for long. Stout brings him back down. Camden McDaniel, a freshman, took a gray shirt last year, took some time to train at the Olympic Training Center in the Elite Accelerator program. Part of the 2023 class for Nebraska. Won a U23 World Bronze Medal at 97 kilos. Has won a couple of U20 U.S. Open championships. Bright future for the young man from Circleville, Ohio, but right now in a buzzsaw, trailing 6-1 after the first period. Earlier in the week, we had the Stout brothers meeting in the second round. Mac defeated Luke by a score of 4-2, both coming off conference championships. Luke, a 3-time All-Ivy performer, a 4-time NCAA qualifier. Mac, a 2-time NCAA qualifier, and those two brothers meeting for the very first time as we go down to Quinn.
Yeah, and I'm joined by the Stouts' dad, Brian, who was a wrestler at Clarion, and quite honestly, right now, I think you can get on the mat with your boys because you're jacked.
I'm still trying. You know, I try hard to keep up with these guys. You know, it's been a lifestyle for us.
What was, unfortunately, your sons drew each other in the second round, and that does nobody any favors. But what was that like?
It was really hard. It was emotional. You know, it was emotional before it happened, and we tried to really lean into the gratefulness of being in the opportunity to have 2 sons wrestling at the NCAA tournament, and so we felt blessed about that. Obviously nervous that we didn't want anyone to get hurt. We didn't want any feelings to get hurt. But they're the best of friends, and they handled it well. They handled it like professionals.
How have your sons go to Princeton and Pitt and compete at the highest level, academically, athletically? How does a parent go about achieving that?
You know, we always put our family first. This is the biggest thing for us. And we set like guidelines and just being, do as best as you can, whatever you do, but we let them be them. We let them find their own paths, and we were just big on that. Find your way, but we're here to support you. And I think we set just solid examples of family first, and everything they do to the best of their ability.
Yeah, it's a tough era to be a parent right now because there's so many kind of crazy parents who are all in, over the top. How do you manage that? How do you find balance?
Our thing was always like, hey, at the end of the day, and we even handled it with these two wrestling in the second round. It's a sport. We're not going to war. It's not a sword fight. At the end of the day, you're trying to grab each other's leg and take each other down. So if that's the worst thing that happens to us, we'll be okay. In this world, we always try and lean into the things that are good. We have good family, good friends, and we try to stay humble, work hard, and just count your blessings. Just focus on the good things in life.
How difficult is it to be a parent of an NCAA wrestler in this tournament? From a stress level 0 to 10?
It's 12. It's horrible. I mean, I wrestled in college, and I, did this, and it was.
Is this harder than? Is this
not even comparable? It's so much harder because you have no control. It's just like you're watching, you're hoping, you're praying, and being a former wrestler, you understand a lot about what's going on. When they played baseball and basketball, I liked it because I was just a parent in the stands. But I think what I've learned over the years, it's really important just to be dad. Let them do their thing. I had my run. Let them do their thing. Be dad.
Brian, thank you. Absolute gold.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
What a refreshing approach to hear from a parent, especially like Brian back in his day. He mentioned he was a competitor. He was a darn good competitor for Clarion. The only 4-time Division I Wrestling All-American in that team's long history of the sport.
And he's a humble guy. Obviously, he's like, I wrestled in college. Come on, man. You didn't wrestle in college. You were an animal in college.
Did you see his facial expression when Quinn asked how difficult is it to be a parent? He took a big sigh, and it's tough. It is tough.
As you say, there was some salt in the eyes there coming, And no, this is this whole 2 hour, these 2.5 hours, this session is one big leadership seminar. And, we bring in the competitiveness, the parenting, the culture of the programs, the amazing excellence of Penn State, the run by Nebraska, toughness at the highest level. Very, very inspiring.
Another 3 for Stout. He builds the lead 11-2.
I wonder what Mac's real name is. Is it Mac? I've always known him as Mac. And it might be Mac.
It's a good name.
It is.
And let's not forget about Kellen Stout.
That's right.
Big brother who's 7 years older than Mac and tremendous wrestler in his own right.
That's a big man right there. If Dad told me to do something, I wouldn't say anything to him.
I would promptly say, yes, sir.
But I tell you what, I've talked to the Stout family before. They said the real boss of the family is their little sister. She's the one that runs it. Just like Stout is running that single down on McDaniel.
Oh, nice slip out by McDaniel there. In so many families, the coach is so important because so many things have changed in our world, but one thing hasn't changed, and that's the power and influence of the coach. Coach says, and when you have a parent that has that kind of influence, plus the coaches in a young man or a young woman's life, man, you got what you need for a successful life.
2 good young wrestlers in this weight class to keep an eye on. Mac Stout, your winner, major decision, 12-3. Mac grew up just about 7 miles away from the center of the Pitt campus. He will close out this year with his arm raised in victory. The Steel City showing their appreciation. A proud papa as well. Shapiro of Cornell finding some early offense. He has held serve, a 7-0 advantage on the Big 12 champion from Northern Colorado and Vinnie Zerman.
This is a rematch from an earlier championship match won by Shapiro 9-4. Myers continue to attack, and Vinny Zerban is continuing to defend. Northern Colorado with 2 All-Americans. And surprisingly, one of them is the returning national champion, Andrew Alirez, who was noble but was dealing with some injuries that were undisclosed. But wish him all the best, and hopefully he has a very successful career in combat sports.
It always amazes me. You hear about these undisclosed injuries, and oftentimes the stories of what these athletes go through well after the NCAA championships. You learn about the surgeries. How many surgeries are there a week or 2 after the national championships? 2 years, 2 All-American showings for the talented sophomore Meyer Shapiro. Season got off to a rough start. He was injured in his very first match of the year. Missed some time. Tried to get back healthy late. And an All-American run for Shapiro as he places 5th at 157.
Now it's
You guys ready for a fall? Let's go to the pin zone. Braden Davis of Penn State, Connor McGonagle, Virginia Tech.
You don't see this much. One neutral, and now we're in a situation going to sit. No control yet, but it doesn't mean you don't have to watch your back. So watch Davis start to push that foot down and sit back. No control, but look, he's continued to sit back. And then right there, what happens? All it takes is 1 second. That's called a neutral fall. So control was never established for takedown, but if your back is on the mat for 1 second, as McGonagle was, that's a pin for Penn State.
And Davis, after being the #1 seed last year, losing in the quarters and then in the blood round, All-American this year, true sophomore, one of 10 All-Americans for the Nittany Lions.
Penn State with 158 points. They are going to look to add to that total. Iowa will be standing in their way. Stephen Buchanan, one of 3 Hawkeyes wrestling for a title. Josh Barr trying to keep Penn State rolling. The dominance of the Nittany Lions, Barr and Buchanan, to settle it for the national title at 197. The finals tonight, 7 o'clock Eastern, over on ESPN. Championship time of the year. We go back down to the mats inside the Wells Fargo Center. 3rd and final day of the NCAA Wrestling Championships. Cornell's Chris Foca, Jackson Smith of Maryland, scoreless. Short time in this first period.
The first All-American for Coach Alex Clemson and the Terrapins. And if you get a chance to see the pain that these guys go through, look at the face of Smith. The right side of his eye, he's gone through some battles to get here.
And get here he did. Great recruit out of the state of Georgia, came with their desire for him to be the face of the program. And voila, Coach Clemson's first All-American in his 3rd try.
TJ, you bring up the state of Georgia. 3 All-Americans from that state this year when you factor in Henson, who's going to be wrestling for a national championship. Maddie Singleton of NC State, a Georgia native. So a state that is certainly on the rise, producing a lot of talent.
That's because they continue to develop coaches, you know, not only in the high schools, but clubs. And so the better the development of coaches, the better your programs will be. I always say we know who's coaching our kids, but who's coaching our coaches? And there's been a focus in Georgia to develop their coaches, and it's coming out, and out of the overflow of that, 3 All-Americans out of the state. You wouldn't have heard of that a few years ago.
What they need to do, the SEC needs to take just a slice out of their football budget and start wrestling programs, and let's go from there. Hashtag SEC wrestling. I said what I said.
I always have your back, Rock. Always. Foca with a 4-1 lead. 2nd period, a minute to go in period number 2. What a career it's been for Chris Foca. alongside his former adversary turned best buddy, Julian Ramirez. Really a lot of fun learning about their history, how they really could not stand one another. They were top rivals coming up through the high school ranks, but wouldn't you know it, they became best of friends once they both arrived at the Ivy League school. And two wrestlers who have won a lot of matches for Coach Gray over the past 5 years.
And you saw that with Oklahoma State. 3 guys that were at the same weight class in the same conference. You know, that's the thing about wrestling. They're not the adversary, they're just your opponent. You don't have to be mad at them, hate them. Hey, they're going to make you better.
I was going to say, you like them for that. I mean, you want to wrestle the best wrestlers if your mindset is right. And it starts with loving the sport. Loving the sport more than you do winning.
Smith a little too late generating that offense, did not quite have enough time to pull it off. So he goes into the third period trailing 3. Lackland McNeel continues to hold a 3-point advantage as well, plus the riding time is secured. So he's in a really good position right now with Stiles of Oregon State.
Stiles in Oregon State, he's going to be a problem moving forward as well. But let's talk about Lackland McNeel. Another All-American, 3 for 3 with being an All-American. Doesn't get a lot of people talking about it, but Rob Cole is doing some special stuff down in Chapel Hill. Lackland McNeel.
When you talk about Stiles, you know, young man coming in, you know, people say, why are these freshmen coming in? They seem better than they ever have been, more ready, more poised. They are. And I mentioned one, better coaching all the time. But the other is access. I mean, whether it's, you know, the streaming and ESPN and the access, our wrestlers today have access to the best wrestling in the world at command. And I think between clubs and coaching and the access, it's a different day by far. And our guys are coming in way more mature as freshmen than ever before.
Way more mature, a little older than when we came up. But the thing about it too is that they're wrestling more. Now there's a fine line between wrestling too much and getting some injuries early on, but when you do something often, you generally get better at it.
Quick stand up by Smith. Focus so tough in this top position, brings him right back down, sticks in that claw, right foot still inside the cylinder, and now they go out of bounds with that left hand of Smith going off the mat. One more closing thought with the freshman. We just saw Ethan Stiles of Oregon State. Now these guys just work their tails off as well once they arrive. Stiles, I was talking to Coach Pendleton, they call him Midnight Oil because he's always working out. Just always in the room. He'll go in at midnight to get a workout in. Dale Thomas Wrestling Room for Oregon State. These guys know what it takes to compete, be able to battle through and wrestle on this third and final day.
Another attack there by Foka. Foka's got to keep moving. You don't want to get stuck here, but he's been doing this a long time. He knows what he needs to do just to hold on. You see how he's covering his shoelaces? Covering your shoelaces keeps your opponents from grabbing ankles and pulling the foot out for some rolls. Well done by Mr. Foka. Always good to end your career on a winning note.
A two-time All-American, and Cornell showing their appreciation for Chris Foka. Cornell, part of the large fan base. Take a look at these numbers, approaching over 100,000 folks coming through the turnstiles here in Philly. 91,169 through the 5 sessions. 18,806, enjoying the emotions of the medal round. For the first time since 2011, the wrestling world converges back on the city of brotherly love, and a couple of Nittany Lions side by side. Bo Bartlett trying to close out his career with a fall. He has Composto squeezed tight.
His overhook is above the elbow there. Double overhooks above the elbow.
Little butcher action.
Yep, yep. The old butcher. Nice job by Composto.
This place will go nuts if this is a fall, but Composto battles his way back to his base.
Great fight by Composto there to come off his back.
That's pride right there.
Yeah, yeah. That's just what this morning's all about.
Meanwhile, on the right-hand side, the top two seeds at 125. Lilidol, a 5-3 lead over Ramos. Two wrestlers very familiar with one another. And you know, you look nationally, really from the start of the season, you go back to November when 125 was the weight class that everybody said was going to be a wide open class. A lot of different names you could insert in there. Ramos takes that low, long range shot. Composto, uphill battle in this third period. Couldn't get any type of turn that he was comfortable with, so he just cuts Bartlett away, down 11-2.
Composto has really outperformed his seed. Returning All-American, seeded 10, going for third place. New head coach for next year, Matt Valenti's taking over for longtime coach Roger Arena.
Valenci, one of the all-time greats, two-time national champion for his alma mater. Going to take over. Great choice. Great job of the whole segue between Coach Reyna and him.
Yes.
Well planned, and they're in good hands at Penn. That right there, another little black eye on the left. I mean, if you took a picture of most of the guys that have come through 3 days of wrestling and you put them out on a poster, it would be pretty scary.
Yeah. You make sure you get a girlfriend before this tournament.
Yeah.
Do not get one after.
Or, hey, you may get some that you would never get as far as girls that, yeah, you know what? There's still a call for tough guys. We need more tough guys. That's why we need wrestling. We need more tough guys in America. Look at that. What a career, and he's always smiled. An amazing demeanor, Bo Bartlett. What an ambassador, not only for Penn State, but the sport.
3 times an All-American for Bo Bartlett. Wrestling family. His father, Andre, wrestled at Fresno State. Born in Arizona, competed in Kingston, PA at Wyoming Seminary, where he won 4 national prep championships and now a 3-time All-American as we check in with Quinn.
Bo, congratulations. What a way to go out, and you got a big smile. What emotions are you dealing with right now?
I think college wrestling is hard. So hard. The highs, the lows.
Yeah, there's a high right there, baby.
There we go.
That's a high. Lilidol sticks Ramos, and this place goes nuts. You talk about the highs and the lows within 6 seconds.
Seeing that, that's awesome. Luke, he's been my roommate on all the away trips. Awesome young champion. Love to see that. Saturday
morning is about saluting veterans like Bo Bartlett. It's also about putting a spotlight on the stars of the future. Luke Lilidol is a star of the future.
What a finish. Lilidol with the fall on Ramos. Penn State back-to-back. And the Nittany Lions, just like that, a snap of the finger, a couple of third-place finishes.
Boy, Quint said it so best, you know. Today marks both the close of many chapters and the start of new ones. And Ramos has heard that crowd before, hasn't he, Sean?
He's been on the other end.
He's been on the other end, maybe the loudest an NCAA crowd has ever cheered 2 years ago when he was on the other side of it with the pin heard round the world in the semis. And life's hard, as Bo Bartlett said. And I say it, life's hard, God's good, and let's try not to confuse the two.
There has been no confusion here today for Kasak. Impressive earlier in his consolation semis, and now a familiar opponent in Trumble of Northwestern. 3-0 lead, Kasak with this ride. Early stages, first period. First period over on the left with Shane Van Ness of Penn State, a 3-1 lead on Deilio.
And with that pin, Penn State is up to 163 team points. Very close to the record that they set last year.
And they have 3 in the finals, and you get 4 for a regular win in the finals without bonus points.
That record that Rock was talking about, 172.5 points, is what the Nittany Lions finished with a year ago. And just the second time that there's been 10 All-Americans. You have to go back to the Minnesota days with the Golden Gophers the last time that's happened.
The great Jay Robinson won the national title with 10 All-Americans and no finalists that year in 2002. But 10 All-Americans up until this weekend, the only time that had ever been done. And Penn State matches that record.
Van Ness, so explosive offensively. If you would put together a highlight reel of trying to get somebody excited about this sport, Van Ness and some of his offensive tactics would be one that would be up near the top of the list.
You see, when he shoots, it's not your traditional penetration step. He kind of just lowers his level and explodes through. And Deilio has a good double, but good go behind re-attack. TJ, why do you love Deilio so much?
I have an elite tier and a tough tier, and he's at the top of the tough tier. But I'll tell you what, with Van Ness, he's right there in the elite tier, and he's showing why right there. But there's, you know, in college wrestling, we have a few elites. And we have only a few really tough, too. I mean, at the top. And Deilio has been one of those guys.
Penn State's wrestling very, very well this round. And you may say, well, they're supposed to. They're the top team in the country. After you do not reach your dreams on Friday, coming back to this and to perform is very, very difficult. Making weight after losing is horrible. Horrible. Body is aching, dreams crushed, and now you got to perform. Penn State's got it all.
A flurry from Van Ness. Deilio tagged with stalling underneath. They go to the third period. 11-3. The word perseverance would certainly pop up in the vernacular when you look at Shane Van Ness coming back from an injury redshirt season a year ago. Re-aggravated a lingering injury to his knee that sidelined him.
He's moving well. And they are scoring a lot.
Van Ness told local media back earlier in his career at Penn State, coming off that knee injury and the frustration he had with the process and how slow it took to fully heal. He had to focus one day at a time really to get him through the process. He said he stopped looking at the big picture. That's when everything was so frustrating for him, when he started to look at the days individually and then string them together. It went a lot faster, and there was a time when Just walking a full mile was tough. That was the workout that he was completely exhausted from. To push the human body and to get to moments like this. It's not a national championship like he had drawn up. But to put on this type of show with this fan base in place has to be a satisfying feeling for him coming through this backside.
And he has 2 more years of eligibility. Kasak, 2 more years of eligibility as well.
Yeah, do you see any signs of Penn State slowing down? We talk about what they've accomplished over the past decade plus. The last 2 years, it looks like they're going to break the record from a year ago. Will they come back to the pack in the very near future?
Their backups, I think, finished second at the Southern Scuffle this year. So, I mean, you know, their stable is full, if that answers your question.
Transfer portal, NIL, certainly changing a lot of the landscape in wrestling. As Van Ness puts up 15 to claim third, another Penn State win.
Wrestling very, very well. So as we talk about this dominance, which is just, and Sean, we did we did that piece about Penn State's dominance. You know, what they're doing is so special. What they're doing is so unique. And while some people may not like it, they think it's boring, embrace history and what we are seeing right now.
Great story detailing the rise of Penn State, available with Game On, Journey to the NCAA Wrestling Championships. Available right now on ESPN+. That's a must-see if you love the sport of wrestling, and really not just the sport of wrestling, individual stories. Some of what these wrestlers have overcome to achieve the milestones. Kasak continuing to ride, 7-0 on Trumble of Northwestern. We get our first look at Levi Haynes, Patrick Kennedy, the Hawkeyes and the Nittany Lions. Always a party when these two schools get together. Kasak has his match under control. Dustin Plott working those double unders near the edge. Consistency, all capital letters when you look at Plott and what he's meant to Oklahoma State.
Yeah, he really has, and he's been right there. He's going to be on the wall. There's the multiple All-Americans, and as Rock alluded earlier, he just ran into an era that was exceptional, and we're going to celebrate tonight in the finals with Carter Starace going for an unprecedented 5th NCAA title against the defending champion at this weight class, Parker Keckeisen. But Plott has always been right there, always relevant. I mean, you cannot mention this weight class without mentioning Dustin Plott.
You're right about that, and the Oklahoma State fans, they really do appreciate Dustin Plott. They enjoy how he wrestles, his disposition, how he competes hard all the time. Had some injuries early in his career, but he's worked through, and tip my hat to how hard he goes.
You know, we're talking about closing chapters and beginning new ones. I have the feeling that Gopher fans and alums are going to be saying the same thing in a few years about McGonagle.
Not just that, but Sean Kenny. Sean Kenny loves this kid.
I do. As you see Plott come in on that leg. McGonagle sticking in the whizzer. Plott trying to free up that arm. Still has the leg. No control yet. Flexibility of McGonagle. Yes, these are 84-pounders. You see how nimble and quick and agile they can be.
Plott's doing a good job of keeping a foot in bounds. They're trying to keep any part in. Look at the roll action. His hand is still in, so they're going to keep wrestling. As long as there's any part of anybody's body within that cylinder, they keep wrestling. They're trying to figure it out here.
And Sean, what is it that has endeared you to McGonagle this year?
The footwork. Quite simply, the footwork and what he can do on the mat. from that position and some of the angles that he's able to create. That football background that we documented over the last couple of days. You know, you go back to Plott, you guys were talking about the toughness. I think if you would talk to Oklahoma State fans, he has some really impressive stories of what he has battled through. I recall the duel where he had his teeth cracked. They were so lodged high into his gums that they had to rush him to a St. Louis dentist where he had his front teeth extracted. And he didn't miss a beat. He came right back into it. He's wrestled through torn labrums.
Okay, he's at the top of my tough tier too.
He has to be.
Okay,
I mean
there you go. There's a tough tier, and well, he's there.
That's that cowboy toughness that they love.
If there's a team, and we don't know what the future holds, Nebraska's had a great tournament, but if we're looking at potential, look at Oklahoma State in the coming years. Penn State is the dominant team right now, but Oklahoma State, they are going to be tough. Now, are they going to upset and beat Penn State? I don't know, but I tell you what, they're going in the right direction.
You know, it's interesting because when we talk about Penn State, we're pointing at current wrestlers, we're pointing at their backups and their stable. When we talk about Oklahoma State, and I agree with you, Rock, we're talking about who's at the helm. We're talking about leadership and the potential for recruiting and the culture that they want to build. So we're talking about, you know, something that we think will happen because of David Taylor at the helm.
That's right.
We're not, I mean, because, you know, they lose several guys, the guys that came in from the portal, etc. But hey, I have no doubt that that's going to happen again. And the recruiting is ramped up.
And not only the David Taylor impact as a head coach, but also the ambassador of the sport with the implementation of the national duels next year, a November event that really was spearheaded by Taylor in Oklahoma State. What a great precursor to the regular season, inviting the top 16 teams to Tulsa to duke it out and really get college wrestling on the map early in the season.
And what I've understood about that national duels, it's the top 16 teams. We're not looking for equal representation from each conference. It's the 16 best teams. Not just what you did last year. That makes a difference, but you may be losing a lot of guys, and there's going to be some people in this committee that's going to help pick the right teams. They want to make sure it's the best teams. The best teams.
And I'm hoping the best teams accept that invitation.
That part.
Minute 17 of riding for Plott, giving McGonagle no room to get away. Battle for third at 184. Meanwhile, Haynes, he's approaching a minute 25 of riding time with Kennedy as he tried to hit that switch, and Kennedy is away. So Patrick Kennedy with some work to do, trailing 7-3, 45 seconds to go.
That earlier win by Ventresca, we mentioned it, that's why I bring it back up. Looking at the top 10, and Virginia Tech has snuck in there, Sean, and 2 ACC teams in the top 10.
Not just two teams that are very much competitors. This means a big difference to NC State and Virginia Tech, who's 9 and who's 10.
3 more for Haynes, an exclamation point. That 174. Looks over at that clock.
Look at what Plott is doing right now. He is really keeping him down. He did this with his match against Iowa when he had to keep Ferrari down. And he's going to look towards getting the full allotment of 2 minutes of riding time.
Plott rides out McGonagle in the second period. So Max McGonagle is, let's see where they're going to go. It's going to be Plott's choice. We get our first look at Colton Schultz today, Arizona State, second period, 1-0 lead on Isaac Trumble. Schultz has been a lot for Zeke Jones in the desert throughout his career. A pillar of consistency at heavyweights. So much international experience in Greco-Roman. National runner-up from years past. Ran into Gable Steveson early in Stevenson's title runs. And now Schultz in his final go-around for the Sun Devils. McNeel, a low strike rock.
He's in there, but look at the motion of Dustin Plott. You talked about their footwork there. Both guys have good footwork here. That match last night with McNeel and Parker Kekaiser was an absolute fantastic match.
Best 15-second scramble I can remember.
Has that been the match of the week so far? If you had to narrow it down real quickly to one, has there been one match that stood out to you?
I would say that's the match people are talking about. So there's the answer. You know, that brings up an interesting, from a team standpoint, too. A few years ago, Iowa won, but we went away because of the 5 champions of Penn State, and people were talking about Penn State. There's a little bit of that. As great as Penn State is, people are talking about Nebraska this year, too. They were the talk of the tournament. Penn State's excellence, 10 All-Americans, yes. And all the rest of the people are talking about Nebraska, too.
Nice takedown there by McNeel, but he's got to go against the riding time. Riding time is secured, so he has to make that decision to keep Plott down.
Schultz is keeping Trumble down as we speak. 1:15 to go, third period. Leg trying to get in there.
Oh, that's tight.
Trumble rolls through.
That's a lot of weight to be on your lower back.
That lower half of the back of Trumble just taking an exorbitant amount of weight right now, and Trumble close to slipping through that back door. Trumble need to do here?
Trumble has to make a decision because right now, Schultz is still in control. Locking hands though, because they're on the mat. Locking hands, they're on the mat. Another takedown there by McNeel. Wow. This kid right here, he's the real deal. There's the Panther train and there's the McNeel train. Sean is the conductor. Let's see the sprint here coming by Plott. Look at him move foot motion. Look at foot motion there. And back in.
Max McNeel in his first trip to the national championships. He is an All-American, placing third for Minnesota. Committed to wrestling really for the first time full-time in his career last year during his redshirt season. We talked about the impact Michael Kemmerer has had on the development of McNeel. And as Minnesota will say farewell to a legend of the sport in Gable Steveson, he leaves the program in good hands with athletes like McNeel and the hug from Coach Agam.
Minnesota fans, you have a gem.
Let's go down to Quinn.
Max, congratulations. Big hug for your assistant coach, Mike Kemmerer, and your head coach. What impact did they have on your development this season?
They've done a lot for me. Wrestle with Kemmerer basically every day, and he's put a lot of time and effort into me, and it finally pays off. So I couldn't do this without both of them.
You're a hard-nosed football running back. What's tougher, running through between the tackles or running through the NCAA wrestling tournament?
The NCAA wrestling tournament by far. Your body, man, it takes a beating, but you just got to keep going, and it's a mental game. That's all it is.
Well, you showcased yourself this year. Congratulations on all the work. When you look towards the future, what's on top of your mind?
National championship, Olympic championship, everything. I'm coming for it all.
Congratulations. Great job.
Well, I would say all those goals he listed certainly realistic when you look at his talent, his approach to this sport. Just a few moments ago, the finishing touches for Cal Poly, and Seth Romney at 133 pounds, a 4-2 lead on one of the better stories of the weekend with Wisconsin's Fugit. But Romney says, "Nuh-uh, not today." Sophomore with the late takedown and a third place showing for Cal Poly.
He's been solid all year. Don't think that he snuck up on people. He's been doing very well since the Vegas Invitational. Solid. You may not see him much because he's West Coast, but he's good. Third place finish by Romney. Coming back for a couple years. Looking at his build, I don't know how long he stayed at 33 though.
41 might be calling very soon. Quite a run for Romney. The program's all-time wins leader at West Virginia is that man on top right now that you're watching with the ride, and Peyton Hall. What a career it's been for Hall. He closes out his West Virginia career with the victory. AJ Ferrari coming up next. Always showtime when he hits the mat. One match remaining here in this medal round, and wouldn't you know it, it's AJ Ferrari as he gets ready to take on the top seed, Jacob Cardinas. Michigan, Cal State Bakersfield, the 1 and the 3 seed to close out this medal round.
Yeah, just as likely that this would have been on tonight. I mean, there would have been nobody. It was an expectation that these two were going to be in the hunt for the title, and here they are wrestling for third place.
Both guys are really, really tough on top. They have a good positioning, and while AJ Ferrari is more controlling on top, Cardinas has what's called a cross wrist and will tilt. But the difference in this match could be, you know, on their feet. So whoever gets that first takedown is really going to put pressure on his opponent.
Cardinas coming over this offseason from Cornell to join that Michigan wrestling room. Now a 3-time All-American, 8th in Tulsa 2 years ago, placed 4th in Kansas City. Will it be 3rd place here in Philadelphia, taking on the 2021 national champion Ferrari? Right now, AJ with that brief 2-on-1, that Russian tie.
Watch the peek out here. You saw that right leg out. Looks like he could have just popped his head, but AJ Ferrari did a good job of keeping his elbows in.
And so much pressure on the head and the shoulders by AJ.
Michigan's done a good job as well in the transfer portal. When they've got people in, they've developed them in the time that they've had them, especially in the heavyweights.
And it really is a balance that you have. You can't not play the game. You've got to be great at NIL and transfer portal, but you also have to be great at recruiting and developing your young wrestlers, and it's not an easy balance.
And it was a challenging year for Michigan because they lost so many a season ago to graduation, and then you factor in the injuries.
Dylan Ragusin and some of their best wrestlers. Yep.
Scoreless in this opening period. Final match of this medal round session. Cardinas off that front head. Ferrari slipping that head and neck off to the side.
He's using that out of bounds. You see him kind of slide it back to the out of bounds. A little pat on the back. There's so many little tricks that you learn as you become more and more seasoned in the NCAAs. Not just the tournament, just little things you learn. Just how to operate, how to use the mat, how to get in the official's head. And Ferrari knows it.
Stall call on Cardinas. That's his first stalling. 28 seconds to go, first period, and you agree with him.
I agree. He's the aggressor. End of the period.
Gentlemen, when you look at Ferrari wrestling on the West Coast, a lot of people did not see his body of work during the course of the regular season. So I'm curious, watching him closely in all his matches this week, what stood out to you about AJ Ferrari, this 2025 edition?
Well, really impressive. One, he didn't wrestle a whole lot of matches. And two, it wasn't at the level, his matches weren't at the level that he had this weekend, okay? Just from geography, the conference, etc. So I'm very impressed with how he has performed this week against the top competition.
It looks like he hasn't lost much of a step either. I mean,
no rust.
He is going for third place in the national tournament. And if it wasn't for locked hands, might have changed the potential outcome of the semifinal match.
Trying to get out from underneath. Thigh pry in from Cardinas. Now Ferrari up on his feet as he scoots to the out of bounds.
You can see Cardinas trying to get wrist control, cross wrist. He is deadly once he has that.
Good back pressure there. Hand control. Got to get up to the feet there by Ferrari. He's fighting good there. Yep. Just,
he had that stall call in the back of his head. Cardinas said, okay, there's a clock. Now, it's not 5 seconds. People say 5 seconds. It's attempts. And he said, I'm getting close to that point, so let me just cut him. 35 seconds of riding time accumulated. Let's see if we can get some action on the feet.
It's really iron against iron when you look at these two and their strengths. Ferrari's so tough to take down, so powerful in the lower half, and Cardinas has made his money with those double leg attacks.
He kind of baits you to attack. He has a unique stance with kind of one right leg or left leg kind of just leads, and then he'll just put the hands out there and clap. Cardinas has got to close the gap. When Ferrari can get that hand out there, he can kind of like a jab, kind of got to gauge the distance. And Cardinas has got to get through there.
Both wrestlers do a really nice job of lateral movement, not allowing the other to find that opening, that look that they want.
Let's see what he takes. He's going to take bottom. Now, we know Ferrari is pretty tough on top. Cardinas has got to explode up and not get his wrist tied up with Ferrari.
Top wrestling is a game changer. Make all the difference.
First move, stand up. Knee sliding up. But good pressure there by
and
Ferrari.
Took away any type of back pressure opportunity for Cardinas. Great pressure. Look at that.
Right back on his feet. That's what you want to teach. Keep the pressure on the shoulders, the neck, and the back. Make it hard for your opponent to slide up.
Very seldom is Ferrari on his knees. He's driving through with his feet.
Pause.
Ferrari, one of those wrestlers, he hates stoppages in the action. He wants this thing to keep rolling. There is some blood on the mat. Ferrari got cut last night in the semifinals with Buchanan. Not sure maybe if that wound reopened up or what the case might be, but they're going to clean him up real quickly.
Second time I've seen somebody cut their mustache off. Luke Smith, the head coach, he had a mustache last night.
So he and Bartlett.
Hey.
Right.
good company.
Well, we know Hardy isn't going to shave his beard. He's got his playoff beard for 149 tonight with his date with Mendez.
The great NHL Stanley Cup tradition. You don't shave. Here in the home of the Flyers, and we are up in the hockey booth. Final match of this session.
I didn't know that.
You didn't know about the playoff beard?
No, I didn't know that. I don't watch hockey.
Well, we got to get you watching hockey.
Well, if I got to watch from this booth right here, I'm not watching hockey ever.
Another blood timeout. Blood and beards, that's hockey.
So what is it? When you're in the playoffs, you don't shave?
Yeah, a lot of guys don't shave. It's a curse if you shave before the playoffs are done. So you'll see guys that roll through those playoffs, the NHL playoffs, over a month long. By the time they hoist the Stanley Cup, they have quite the beards. Fear the beard, Rock. Fear the beard.
It's new to me.
Ferrari getting back into position. Again, that stand-up, at least attempted stand-up by Cardinas. Ferrari taking that leg away.
Yeah, that was really nice job of Ferrari going back to the back ankle. Look at this movement by Ferrari to stay on top.
That's a commitment right there. Most guys will just let them go and chase. Ferrari staying on there, and then there's more blood.
AJ Ferrari making the decision to come back to college wrestling for Bakersfield this past summer. August 23rd, in fact, a Bakersfield program that is back into the NCAAs. They did not send a qualifier to nationals last year for the first time in 50 years. This is a program that has a lot of pride and success in the past. They have produced 7 Division I national champions since they moved from Division II back in 1980. You go back through the years, Stephen Neal would be the name that pops up to the front of the memory, winning a title in '99. A lot of stoppages here, disrupting any type of flow for both of these wrestlers. We go back to it, a minute 13. Ferrari with the escape in the second period. That's been the difference thus far.
And I'm not sure who that is advantageous towards, the bottom wrestler or the top wrestler. I would lean towards the bottom wrestler. You get enough time to restart and figure out something to do. Look at pressure forward. Pressure forward. This is a really tough ride here.
And drops down, secures, control there. And you talked about it, Rock. It's commitment.
But look at this riding time. He wants to get it to another 19 seconds to get to 1 minute. And then potentially take a 2-0 lead. Caution.
Yep, caution on Ferrari that time. A little too quick, sticking his arm in.
Yeah, to fix the clock, that could make all the difference in the world. Cardinas got to get a couple moves going here to pop up. Good stand up. He's trying to fight it. Continue to move forward. He's trying to bring him back in. So Ferrari's trying to keep him in.
Yeah, he's not just hanging on. He is competing on top. Ferrari right there, and this is why you do those 10, 15-second goes in practice. You know, you got to. It's like riding a bull, and you're going to have to go about 8, 9 times. 10-second rides.
8 seconds away from riding time. Cardinas just simply no answer to get out underneath. And that forward driving weight and pressure. And a stall call on Ferrari now.
First one, that's okay. But look at that riding time at a minute. Now 24 seconds here.
You commit to the ride right here. You ride him out. You don't care if you get another call, a stall call. So you don't let the official take you out of your game right here, because you've got it in hand. Now you've got the riding time. You ride him out. If they call you for another stall call, you win.
Look at the flurry here. Cardinas is trying to do his best, but good job by Ferrari. Look at it. When there's a roll, he kind of just lets him loose and follows him. Look at that pressure on the back of the head. Good job here by Ferrari to end this match in 3rd place.
The final match of the day, and you see the respect between these two, rehashing what just took place. AJ Ferrari, Jacob Cardinas. 2-0 your final. Ferrari in his return to NCAA wrestling. A little bloodied. Not at the top that he had envisioned, but again, just a sophomore. And what he's meant to the West Coast and Bakersfield, picking that school to make his return to.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Mr. Flex, a bowl.
I want a t-shirt. Way to go.
The Oklahoma State champion from back in 2021. Just the 3rd true freshman in Oklahoma State history to win a national crown. Was away from the sport. Signed on with Bakersfield this past summer, and he is an All-American. 3rd place showing here in Philadelphia, and he's with Quinn.
AJ, congratulations. You do your classic split. What was today like for you?
It was a testament, you know. As it says in the book of James, you know, consider it pure joy when you face trials and tribulations. You know, things didn't go the way I wanted to yesterday. Had a setback. I was prideful and vain before the match. I've beaten Buchanan twice. I thought I was going to run him over and came in the match kind of cocky, overconfident. And, you know, and God taught me a lesson, and I've learned from that. And I'm going to be humble, and I'm going to continue to learn. And key for me was just Proverbs, before I came out here, Proverbs 3 verse 5, you know, because it's hard for me to win a national championship. Taking 3rd for me, I hate losing more than winning. That's what drives me, and it hurts me because I know I put the most work in. You know, I'm doing all the right things behind the scenes, and it's hard.
I see transformation in you, and today showed me that. It showed me toughness, showed me growth. It showed me the willingness to persevere. What was your mindset today?
It was just, don't feed your flesh. You know, that's what God told me. You know, I was in the bathroom by myself, crying last night in pain just from the match. I was like, man, I gotta cut this weight. I was up to midnight before I even started cutting weight. And God told me, he said, you have to learn from this. You have to get rid of your pride and your vanity. You have to stay humble. You have to remember that this is not what matters. What matters is seeking first the Lord and seeking his kingdom. So I'm ended on Proverbs 3 verse 5. And it's the verse that I said to myself as I walked out here. You know, I was in a tunnel. I was there, a lot of pressure, all these people, a lot of love, a lot of hate. You know what I mean? And that was the key for me, is just reading Proverbs 3 verse 5. You know what that verse is?
No, I don't. But I know you're a polarizing figure, because you walk out of that tunnel, you hear some cheers, you hear some boos. You hit your splits, same deal. But I will tell you this, everybody stayed in their seat to watch you wrestle.
I mean, of course, you know, that's why people come. You know, they love me, hate me, they're watching. But Proverbs 3 verse 5, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths. You know, that was the key for me. Don't trust in myself, trust in the Lord. And I got to walk in that Holy Spirit, not in my flesh. Get rid of the flesh. And that's the key, you know. Even if I lost today, old AJ's in the past, my flesh is dead, that cannot go into God's kingdom. So I'm just grateful for all the love, all the support, all the family, all the friends. You know, all glory to God. Jesus is King. Jesus is going to be back soon, and I'm going to keep worshiping him, and God's going to keep giving me the glory because I live that life, and I have made a change.
I need you to change me and teach me how to do those splits. Congratulations. Really a lot of toughness today. Really impressive. Way to go.
All right, thank you very much, Quint. I think he won over some fans the past couple of days here in Philadelphia, the return of AJ Ferrari.